It was a £2.5 billion business, and the vast majority of the sales through that business was B2B. I came from a B2C background, so I naturally thought, this is going to be dead easy. Nobody was using online. I'll do some stuff, and they'll start using online. It didn't happen like that. I learned the hard way. I was humbled. These things are really difficult to get right. If I take the first day in Travis Perkins, I asked my head of e-commerce, how did e-commerce perform last year? £9 million through e-commerce, and it was a £2.5 billion business. So that's less than 0.5% of all revenue was going through an e-commerce channel. The opportunity is enormous. I thought, this is going to be so easy. 3 years later, spending 25 to 30 million pounds, we went from 0.5% of total business through e-commerce to 5%. And it cost that much money and that much effort and that much energy for a very small percentage of the overall business. And in B2B, what we're seeing since we've left Travis Perkins, similar numbers, very small percentage of overall business goes through digital for B2B businesses, but it is growing. Now, what we did learn, and what I've now understood to be true, because we talk to lots of clients, is that as much as it's about the technology, it's more about the culture. It's more about persuading the business to think about how you migrate customers from doing things offline to an online world. And in most B2B businesses, it's about relationships, it's about talking, it's about communicating and building those strong links between the client and the customer. So when you introduce digital or tools for them to do things with you, they take a little bit of time. You've got to coach them, you've got to educate them. The UK market, for you, if you don't know, is quite mature. Certainly what we can see and what the data suggests is that by the end of this year, about 56% of B2B organizations' revenue will be generated via digital channels. So you take Travis Perkins, which is just 5%, and you look at the total number of B2B transactions through e-commerce, there's clearly some big gaps. And what we do definitely understand is that in order to move into this space, it's not just talking about digital transformation, it's talking about business transformation. It's about talking to the exec members of these businesses about the need to do things in a more digitally enhanced way. So I'll tell you a very interesting story at Travis Perkins. £2.5 billion business. And in 2023, they were spending £2 million on second-class stamps. And the reason why they were doing that was because that's the way they'd always done it. And when we were trying to create a business case to move into the digital world, it became an easy sell because you're talking about a lot higher cost to serve your customers. So transferring it over was obviously a very big benefit for them. What we can see, and I've got very limited, this is the first time in Philippines, by the way, and it's been amazing so far, and I'm looking forward to the rest of my time here. In Philippines, you're also seeing some significant opportunities in the B2B space, and albeit in comparison to the UK, it's still a very small digital transaction volumes in compared to the offline or other channels. There is projected to be a significant growth in the B2B sales from an online transaction perspective. These slides are really simple, and hopefully my message to you all today is really simple. And I want you to take 3 things away. If there is 3 things, I can't remember 4 things. I certainly can't remember 5. So hopefully, by providing with 3, it will hopefully sink in. If you're thinking about getting into a business, or your business is about going and selling B2B solutions, or you are a B2B business, and you're thinking about making these investments in the B2B e-commerce space, it's going to get messy. It's not an easy win. It's not as simple as putting a Magento or another platform in place. This isn't just expecting customers to migrate their business from offline to online. It's about taking the business on that transformation. And it's also really important to know that when a customer has always done a certain way of transacting with you offline, it's going to be a challenge to move them over to the online space. Number 2, B2B is not out of the box. There isn't one business in the world that does exactly the same thing in the same way as the other business does. So this is a very, very complex piece of work to understand what are the nuances and what are the individual journeys that those customers that do business with a B2B business do with you. So I'll give you an example. Travis Perkins, 500,000 customers, 500,000 accounts. Every single customer has very different prices to one another. And it could be that one customer has 15 prices for one particular category, such as bricks or blocks or something that we would sell. And if you times that by the number of customers, there are approximately, in that business alone, 13 billion price permutations. So it becomes very complex, very interesting to go through that process to then start to look at what are the things that are required from an e-commerce platform. So when we look at Magento and we look at some of the out of the box, yes, it's great to get you started, but there are very different things that need to be understood in order to make sure that you're going to win in a particular sector. So start by really understanding the business. Choose the right success measure. So we talked a lot about, or I talked a lot about, how businesses can move the dial from A to B. And here is a really good example, what I think is this should be done in order to try to win in this particular sector. And this is it. So success metrics, such as e-commerce vanity metrics, as I call them, which is sales. Sales metrics are great, and they tell a story, and they tell some kind of narrative around how the business is performing. But from a B2B point of view, that might not be the key metric. It might be that what you want to do is you might want to talk about the efficiencies that are being made as a result of the B2B e-commerce solution. It might be about trying to drive costs down. Rather than introducing all of your customers into one channel, which is typically an offline channel in the case of where we've come from, it's about moving them in and showing that it can bring the cost of the overall business down in order to then show the success of that. So I'd want a quick show of hands if possible, just so I can make it slightly more interactive, because I know it's been a long day so far, but could you just show of hands who has or is working in the B2B space right now? So a few. Could I also, quick show of hands, are there any of you thinking of going into or planning to go into the B2B space in the next 12 months? Okay, there's a handful of you out there. We have got this great opportunity ahead of us, and what I would definitely recommend that we all look at when we're looking at these projects is trying to get to the bottom of each of those different customer journeys. And if you've got those in place, these things will be able to be done really quickly. So if we go back to 3 things, it's going to get really messy. Make sure that the business is on board. Make sure the customers understand the importance and the reasons why you need to move from offline to online or from one channel to the next. B2B is not out of the box, as we've seen with Travis Perkins. Each of the different business complexities add up to a really complex situation. And then finally, choose the success metrics that you and will work for you in order to continue to grow in that space. Other than that, I'd wish you all the best of the rest of the day, and I can't wait to speak to you, some of you afterwards, if that's okay. Great.